All right, so we are going to continue doing circles. Okay, so yesterday I gave you the definition of 3 words, right? Well, actually 4 words, but you only need 3 of them. Okay, so remember, we have a circle here, and a circle always has a center point. The center point is very important to what we're doing right now, okay? Because the 2 words that we learned yesterday, 2 of those words, relate directly to the center point, okay? So we have 2 types of lines. One that goes all the way across from one end of the circle through the center to the other end of the circle. And I told you yesterday the easy way to remember it is that it was the longer of the 2 words. Okay? And then we had another line that went from the center to the outside of the circle, or the outside to the center. It doesn't really matter. And that was the shorter of the 2 words. Okay? So the longer one was diameter. Diameter. Okay, so in diameter is the distance from the outside of the circle through the center to the other side of the circle. Let's make that M into an M. There we go. And then I told you that half of a diameter is called a radius. So a radius only goes from the center to the outside, and that's it, okay? And this, you have to remember that this is half of diameter. Okay? So the radius is half of a diameter. So if they give you a radius, you can easily find the diameter by just multiplying by 2. Or if they give you the diameter, you can easily find the radius by just dividing by 2. Okay? And then we learned about the distance around the circle. Okay? So it's kind of like a belt. Like a belt around your panza. And that has a name also. And does anyone remember that name of the distance around your panza? No? Okay.
Circumference?
There you go. So this is called circumference. Let's write it again. Try to stretch it out. Okay, so the distance around the circle is called the circumference, okay? And there's 2 formulas for the circumference. There was C equals pi d, which d stands for diameter. Pi, remember we're in 7th grade now, so pi is equivalent, not exactly, to 3.14, okay? 3.14. It really, that number really goes on forever. So it doesn't really ever end, okay? So D stands for diameter, so let's go ahead and color code everything. Okay? And then there was another formula where C equals 2 pi, and let's put that in orange since that's orange as well, okay? So 2 times pi times the radius. But just remember that these 2 times the radius, is the same thing as your diameter. So in other words, these 2 formulas are exactly the same, okay? It's just that one gives you a radius, so all you do is have to double it, and one gives you diameter, so you just use it, okay? And I told you yesterday that when we find the circumference, all we're really doing is we're getting the diameter, act like if we can take it off, if we can take off the diameter, and it should take 3 of them and a little chunk to make the circumference. So if I took it off and I go 1 like that, and 2 like that, and 3 like that, so this would be diameter number 1. Where did I start the other one? Oh, right there, huh? This is diameter number 2, and this is diameter number 3, and this tiny little chunk right there is the 0.14 ... forever and ever and ever, okay? But remember that the diameter, actually pi never ends, never ever ends. There's like computers right now that are trying to figure it out, and it still doesn't end, okay? It has no pattern, it just keeps going and going forever and ever. So, because of that, a circle really doesn't exist like anywhere in the world, because this little gap right here is forever trying to close, forever and ever and ever and ever trying to close like that. And eventually, maybe one day it'll close, but not in our lifetime, probably. Okay, so circles don't exist, kids. All right, so now let's use these formulas, okay? So let's say we have a circle. Let's go back to black. Let's do one really quick. And I give you this measurement here. Let's say this is, I don't know, 10. Now let's make it easier. Let's go 5 feet. Okay, so if we have this circle right there, this is what I want you to do. We need to find different things. I need to find the diameter. I need to find the radius. And then we're going to find the circumference. Okay? So the diameter, well, what is given on this one? Is that a diameter or is that a radius?
Radius.
Yeah, it's a radius because look, it looks like this one right here. And it's color-coded, see? Yeah. So it's orange, it's color-coded, and it's only half. It only goes from the outside to the center, so that has to be a radius. So right here, I'm going to put 5 feet. So if my radius is 5 feet, what is my diameter? Well, I told you earlier that radius is half of a diameter, so that means to make a diameter, I have to double it, right? So I'm going to put what? 5. Ugh, come on, markers. Times 2. So what's 5 times 2? Well, that's 10. Okay? So if I need to put a diameter, I'm going to put a line going like that. It has to pass through the center. Remember, it has to pass through the center, so that would be 10 feet. So now I can use either one of the formulas because I have both R and I have D. Okay? I like using this one because this one's easier. It's just one step. Multiplication and you're done. Okay? So let's do that one. So I'm going to put the formula here. I'm going to put pi d. Okay? And now I'm just going to replace those two symbols with what they really mean. So I'm going to put C equals, I'm going to put 3.14 times diameter of 10. And then we're going to multiply that out. So I'm going to put 3.14 times 10. Remember, you do not have to line up decimals because we're just multiplying. And then we're going to multiply. 0 times 4 is 0, 0, 0, 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 times 3 is 3. We're going to add those up. We get 3, 1, 4, 0. Decimal, there's two numbers after the decimal. So I'm going to move it twice. 1 and 2. And I get 31.4. Okay, so remember, it's 31.4 or 40. It doesn't really matter. And you have to put feet. And it's only feet. It's not feet squared. Okay? And it's not feet squared because it's only one dimensional. Okay? Remember, this line that goes around it 3.14 times is only one dimension. It's just length. And that's it. Length is a dimension. If it had length and height, then it would be two-dimensional. Then I would put a little 2 right there, but I'm not gonna because then I'll confuse you. So this is circumference. Okay? Now, sometimes they are going to give you the circumference and you're going to have to find either the radius or the diameter. So you have to mess with these formulas. So let's take the first formula right here first. Let's change the color. All right, let's go back to black. So to find, let's say I have the circumference and we have to find diameter. I have to manipulate my formula in order to where it says D equals, okay? So I have to look at what I have. I have C over here by itself, and over here I have multiplication. I have pi times D. Okay, so in order to change the pi, I need to divide by pi. Because I need to get pi on the other side. And I need to do it to both sides because it is equal. So now, right here, pi divided by pi is 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. So I'm going to get C over pi equals D. Okay, so this is the formula to solve for diameter. Okay, so now I can use it to find, let's say we work backwards. Let's say C equals 31.4 feet. And let's say we had the same picture. And this time they had a diameter like this, and it said X feet. So this time we have to solve for the diameter. Okay? So to solve this one, we would use this formula right here. Okay? Because it's the same exact formula, it's just we just manipulated it. We just changed the pi on the other side. But to do it, we have to do opposite operations. So we divided by pi over here. So now I can use this formula. So now I'm going to put 31.4 divided by 3.14 equals D. Okay, so 31.4 is my circumference, so that goes on top, just like the formula says. Pi is 3.14, just like it says up there. And that's going to give us our answer. So if I divide this by this, suppose I'm going to get 10 equals D. So 10 feet is my diameter. So now I can replace that with here. Okay? And just knowing that, I can already do this. Because half of the diameter is my radius, and I can get 5 feet. Okay? So that is how you work backwards. Okay? That is how you work backwards. So all you do is you manipulate the formula to where it says diameter equals and then whatever. And that's how you use it. Okay? Okay. We're going to move on into area of a circle. All right, so now we're doing area of a circle. And I don't know if you guys know what area is. Do you guys know what area is?
Yes.
What's area? Is area the inside or the outside?
Inside.
It's the inside. Just remember, area is always the inside, okay? Just like if you're putting tile on the floor, you always have to find the area of the room. Okay, you have to multiply length and width because area is two-dimensional. Essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to fill this up with squares. And of course, being a circle, it's not going to have perfect squares. Because all these on the edge are all rounded. Okay? But all the ones in the middle are perfect circles. Or perfect squares, rather. Okay? So to find area of a circle, there is a formula. And the formula is this. And you should be writing this down. A equals pi r squared. Okay? And you have to remember that this little 2 always means that it's 2 r's. Okay? So that means r times r. Okay? This is an exponent. This is called an exponent. All the exponent does is it tells you how many of this number of the base there are. It's never r times 2. Never, ever, ever. Okay? It's just r times r. Okay? So let's try one. So let's say we have this circle, and let's make a line here. And let's keep it orange. Let's say that's our radius, and I don't know, let's say our radius is, let's say 2 feet. Okay? Let's keep it simple. So if we have a circle with a radius of 2 feet, we should be able to find the area. Okay? So let's do it. All right, so let's continue with our formula. Let me get this out of the way. So I'm just going to put A equals, and we're going to use the same pi. Pi is equivalent, not equal, equivalent. The little squiggly equal sign means it's equivalent to 3.14. Okay? So I'm going to put 3.14 here, parentheses, because it's multiplication, and I'm going to put my radius in here, and I'm going to square it. Okay? So now I have that, 3.14 times 2 squared. Okay? All right, so now we have to follow Pemdas rules. Pemdas, remember Pemdas from last year? Where we have to do parentheses first, okay? But in the parentheses, I don't have anything. I just have a 2, so I can't really do anything to it. But the next step is exponent, so that one I can do. And remember, this little 2 does not mean that it's 2 times that little number. It means that there's 2 of them. So that means 2 times 2. So it's 3.14 times 4. Mande.
It always gonna be 314?
Yes, it's always going to be 3.14 because just like in the circle that I drew earlier, remember it always takes 3 full diameters and a little chunk. That's the 0.14. Okay, and that's on any circle. That's on the circle right here on top of my marker, or it's on the circumference of the world. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what circle, but it's always the same. It's always 3.14. It's a ratio. Okay, so now let's continue with this one. So we're at here, 3.14 times 4. So I'm going to multiply those. And here I don't have to multiply. I don't have to line up decimals. 4 times 4 is 16. 1, 5, and 12. 2 numbers after the decimal, so I have to move it over twice, and I get 12.56. Okay? Now this one is area. Area is two-dimensional. As you look at every single one of these squares, they have both a base and a height. Okay, so that's 2 dimensions, base and height. So it does have to have a little exponent too. So this is feet squared. Okay, so that means that this circle, inside the circle, there would be 12 full squares and 0.56. So that's like little chunks. All these little chunks combined would give you 0.56. So that's how many squares are inside of this circle. Okay, so that's how you find area, and that's how you find circumference. That's how you find diameter or radius of any given circle. Okay. On these, you can also work backwards. If they give you the area, you can also find the radius, but that's 8th grade stuff. I don't think we're going to do that here in 7th grade. Okay, so that is how to find area and circumference on circles.